which is Hasting Technology Metals, Nick Holthouse. He's the General Manager, Engineering and Operational Readiness. 30 years experience, surface, underground, mining operations, engineering and surveying. And I think reading this, there's few people better placed to bring a project online for the stage that these guys are at. I'll throw to you, Nick, and I'd also encourage people to stick around after this presentation because Sharon Georgetta will do a quick closing address just to round out the conference as well.
Thanks very much, Tim. Thanks for the introduction and the welcome. Thanks also to the organisers at Diggers for the opportunity to present again. It's our second time presenting at Diggers, and I'm pleased to say for a long time we've been saying we're shovel ready, but we've gone past that now and we're actually digging. So it's a wonderful feeling, and it's good to see the project progressing forward. We really are going forward with our ears pinned back. Just the usual disclaimer. Okay, just a bit of a snapshot as to what Hastings is about. So the project is anticipated to produce around 6 to 8% of the global NdPr supply going forward. So that's a significant amount of NdPr. NdPr is very much a hot topic at the moment. It's a component for the EV and wind turbine push for decarbonisation, and we're certainly well endowed with that material. And in fact, we've got up to 52%. 52% in the Simons Find reserve. So Simons Find was a maiden reserve which came on board into our asset mid last year, sorry. That is a world-class asset with regards to its NdPr ratios, and that's certainly, because of that, it's forced its way to the front of our schedule and is a big part of the mining schedule going forward at Yangibana. There's significant exploration upside as well. We've got 650 kilometres of tenement packages at Yangibana, and they're grossly underexplored. I would think that from the numbers I've seen, I think around 30% of the exposed lineament has been reviewed in any way, shape or form. That's drilled or rock chipped or sampled. So we've got an enormous amount of work to do up there, and it bodes really well for the future of the Yangibana project with regards to expanding that reserve base. Resource base initially and then reserve base going forward. So I think we're going to see a long life at Yangibana as that exploration program unfolds into the future. We've got around 16.7 million tonnes of ore at around or just under 1% grade of total rare earth oxides, and that comes from a resource of 27 million tonnes, and it's ever expanding. The NPV we've just posted recently on the ASX, it's just over $1 billion with a post-tax IRR of 26%. So the NPV in particular is heading north at a rapid rate. The pricing that we used in that exercise was $112 a kilo for NdPr. That's probably just under the money at the moment, but has been certainly conservative over the past 6 months or so. We've seen some very high NdPr prices come through. Up around the $150, $160 mark per kilo. So the pricing is about right. The NPV is sitting in the right spot at the moment, I think, and we certainly look forward to seeing where that goes in the future. The pricing that we're getting from Crew and others is suggesting that we should be using something higher than that at this stage. We're well endowed with offtake agreements. We've got 10 years of offtake agreements with 70% of our product tied up. It's predominantly European-based, German-based to be more precise. ThyssenKrupp are a major contributor in that offtake program. We've also got Schaeffler, one of Germany's largest automotive component manufacturers. We're well advanced in discussions with those guys. And to a lesser extent, we've got a small offtake agreement with Skyrock Bow 2, around 2,500 tonnes per annum, I believe. We've got $140 million worth of debt secured with NAIF. We were just hearing about NAIF just previously, so a similar debt amount. It's been a long process with those guys. We've been talking to them for a long time. I'm pleased to say that is now secured, and they are getting very comfortable with us as we are with them. We look forward to taking that forward. As of June 30 this year, we had around $137 million worth of cash in the bank. That's quite a bit of money for a junior. We've got a CEO who's a very successful raiser, and we're lucky to have him around. We're certainly eroding that down. We're on site getting busy, so we're something south of that now. I'd expect probably around 130 is the number that's sitting on at the moment. And we've got a very experienced board and leadership team. As I said, we're well advanced on the ground in our enabling works and our early package works prior to the EPCM contractors getting to site. And we've got a great team that's leading that from within Hastings. Sustainability. It's a core component of what we now do at Hastings. We adopted this early last year, and we kicked that off with the release of a maiden sustainability report in 2021. We have a very strong focus on health and safety. We have a great relationship with our native title group, and also all our key stakeholders in the region as well, both in Onslow and also Carnarvon and Upper Gascoyne regions. Going forward, we have an ESG committee that's been established that is now an active part of the business and is going forward and working well. The importance around rare earths and the push from governments to secure these minerals, I think it's been pretty clear. It's been in the papers, in the media a lot over the last couple of years. Really driven by some of these disruptions that we're seeing. It's been a very disruptive couple of years, as we all know, with supply chains, ongoing trade tensions. We've got COVID-19 related issues, which have certainly not helped, and the emerging China 2025 policy and that challenge to the Western OEMs. And we hear that a lot from our conversations, especially with the German automotive industry. They are really concerned about how that's going to play out and their ability to secure magnets going forward. So it's for them, it's very much a mad scramble going forward to secure these alternate supply chain routes to ensure that they have access to those, not only the critical minerals, but also the components that they need to go forward with. I think we've seen this graph quite a few times over the past few days in many ways, shapes and forms for lots of different minerals. It seems to be a common theme. There's a very much a growing demand for neodymium and praseodymium in particular, and it really is around this permanent magnet story. So EVs are a big driver in this. Also the wind turbine push is a big driver, the decarbonisation push. Most countries have a plan to adopt more and more wind energy at this stage, and those magnets need to come from somewhere. Correspondingly, we're looking at an imbalance going forward, and it's quite a significant imbalance. The growth of the requirements for neodymium and praseodymium is around 8 to 9% compounded on an annual growth basis. So going forward, that yawning chasm of supply deficit is something that we're all going to have to try and manage. And to put that into context, it's something like a new Yangibana project coming online each year. And rare earth projects are not easy to develop, they're not easy to fund, and they're not easy to construct and run. So it's a real challenge, not only for, it's a real challenge for the Western world going forward as to how we're going to plug that gap and manage that issue. Rare earths in a spotlight. There's lots of uses for rare earths. Again, I'm just really going to talk about neodymium and praseodymium. We really are a light rare earth centric mine. There's lots of commercial retail type applications for these, for permanent magnets, earbuds and things like that, mobile phone speakers. But really for us, we see the big driver being the push towards electric vehicles and the push towards decarbonisation with wind turbines. And that's very much where we're focused. We're seeing a lot of support now, recent support from the Australian government. I mean, Iluka benefited recently from a fairly large grant, or sorry, not a grant, a loan to go forward with their Eneabba project, which is pretty exciting. There's Linus as well, the support that they've been given by the US Department of Defence in their ambitions in America going forward. And there's a lot of talk in Europe too about government money being involved in investment for downstream processing, which is really the only way we're going to get these alternate supply chain routes underway. So the value proposition, there's 7 steps in the construction of a magnet, a permanent magnet. The Hastings project takes it to step 3. So we do the mining, the beneficiation, and then we produce a carbonate at the hydromet stage, and we sell a carbonate. At present, there is no ability to go to step 4 in Australia, although Eneabba are progressing that with their, Iluka are progressing that with their Eneabba plant. Aside from that, there is no oxide separation within Australia, but that's certainly something that I'm sure others will be looking at going further downstream. For us, we really see no point in going past step 3 at this early stage. We are a junior. We don't have the funds to go and build a separation plant on top of the money we're trying to chase at the moment. And it's the technical risk as well. It's just the added amount of risk that goes into to running that plant and ramping it up. Saying that though, we would definitely be looking at that post-commissioning. So once we get our own plants up and running, we'll certainly be chasing those downstream opportunities. It's certainly into step 4 and maybe even beyond. Mineral resources and reserves, I think I touched on a little while ago. We've got around 27 million tonnes at 0.97, so just under 1% of TREO, at around 33% NdPr. In the reserve, with around 16.7, just under 1% of TREO again, and a life of mine average of around 36. Simon's find, as I mentioned, is extremely high. It's up into the 50s. And as I said, it's been a real game changer for our scheduling process going forward. A little bit on the geology. We've just completed a 13,000 metre drilling program, or when I say just, 6 months ago, but we've just got the assays back. It seems to be a common problem as well. And we're just about to embark on a resource upgrade over the next couple of months. So we're looking forward to that. So we're looking to push that 27 million tonne number up towards 30, and I think we're going to get there. Really, the target has been on near mine opportunities. We've got an 8-kilometre mineralised zone right next door to the plant, starting at Bald Hill in the very north and then down to Fraser's. As I said, Simon's Find, which is in the middle of that lineament, was a recent addition to the resource suite and reserve suite just over the last 12 months. And really it's been trying to plug some of those holes that we have with drilling gaps and also with inferred resources along that 8-kilometre strike length. And it's filling in really nicely. There's every chance that it's going to end up being a contiguous reserve development piece, which would be quite unusual. Just an enormous body of ore. It's open at depth to the south. Sorry, open on strike to the south. It's open on strike to the north, and it's not closed off at depth. And you can see a typical section there. And fortunately, at this stage, we don't seem to be encountering any of the nasty iron minerals such as siderite apatite, which are flotation inhibitors. So it's a nice, clean ore body and growing all the time. There are other opportunities. We do have reserves to the south and also to the west, but the near mine stuff makes up about 10 million of the 15 million tonnes that we have ready to go for the reserve. So really, we're very much hitched to that those near mine opportunities, and they're going to supply us or serve us well for those first 10 years. The rare earth project itself, you will notice that we've decoupled the plant, and I guess it's not a dissimilar scenario to what we're now seeing with Lynas, with their construction of their hydromet plant just outside of town here now, and them trucking ore and hydromet waste back and forth. We're doing exactly the same, and the main reason for doing that, or making that decision some time ago, was really around gas supply. Gas supply was the main driver. We were looking to have to build a 120-kilometre gas pipeline through some fairly tough country, and because of the costs and the risks associated, the geotechnical risks especially around that, we've elected to dislocate that plant. Now that's given us some added opportunities. We did look up and down the coastline, and we settled on Onslow. We've got a very welcoming shire at Onslow. They've really had their arms open to us and made life very easy for us to transition into that slot. So we have now taken the back end of the plant, the gas-intensive part of the plant, the hydromet plant, to the gas, essentially. So that certainly saved us some CapEx concerns in that space. The other reason is really around access. It's a very remote part of Western Australia, the Upper Gascoyne. When it rains, we don't get cyclones in that area. We certainly get the rain effects coming through. And when it does rain, the roads are very much cut off. You can be isolated for a week, sometimes even 2 weeks. So for that reason, it just made sense to dislocate that plant. At this, now with that dislocated plant, we can keep a stockpile of concentrate at the Onslow end of the business, and we can keep that hydromet plant running in the event of a rain event, and there's no business interruptions. So we're quite happy to shut down the front end of the plant, the flotation plant. We can live with that, but we really don't want to see that back end shut down and stop producing carbonate. So we mine about 1 million tonnes of ore a year. It's crushed. It's a conventional mining sort of situation. It's a drill and blast. It's hosted in a very hard granite. The ore's in an ironstone. So much like an operation you would see around here, there's nothing particularly difficult about the mining scenario itself. That ore is crushed. It goes through a SAG mill and then into a flotation plant. And from a feed grade of 1%, we end up with a 27% concentrate. This seems like an extremely high number. And the predominant reason for the success in the flotation plant is really around the fact that the ore body itself is super clean. There are no preferential floaters that we have in that ore. It's very depleted. A lot of the silica, aluminium, and other deleterious iron minerals have been washed out, and this stuff just floats like nothing else. So we get a real kick in the beneficiation plant. As I said, we go from 1% to 27%. We produce about 40,000 tonnes of concentrate. That would then be transported via road up to Onslow, and then placed into the kiln, and then turned into a carbonate. At the back end of that process, we selectively pull out the uranium and thorium. That goes back to site as a hydromet waste product with some gypsum, and is sequestered into a TSF facility. So again, very much like what's probably you're going to see out here with Linus and their operation. At the back end of the hydromet, we produce around 15,000. There's another clean-up of waste at that point. So the 40,000 tonnes of concentrate turns into 15,000 tonnes of carbonate at a grade of around 60%. So it's a second stage con essentially, with that uranium and thorium taken out. That equates to around 2 sea containers a day, about 40 tonnes, and that is put into bulker bags, put into sea containers, and then that can be taken to any port up and down the coast. It's such a low volume. But we are progressing talks with the Shire of Onslow. There's container opportunities that may be presenting themselves in Onslow, so we'll certainly pursue those. The other good thing about Onslow is that it's an established town. It's got a good airstrip. It's a reasonably pleasant place to live. So attracting people to Onslow, we think, is certainly going to be an opportunity. Okay, onto Yangibana itself. There's a lot happening up on site. As I said, we're not shovel ready anymore. We are actually shoveling. Just going around the photographs there, I see I'm running out of time. The airstrip is well under construction. We've mobilised Witten's Earth moving to site in January this year, and they've been getting busy. So the airstrip is well underway. It's at about 25% completion. We expect to have that completed by the end of the year. Moving left across the top, you can see the solar panel supports for the digital data link that's going to go out to an exchange called Winning Pool. And to the very left, you can see the concrete pads for the towers. They're all going in as of the last couple of weeks. Below that, to the left, you can see the earthworks for the pad, for the village pad, are now complete. We've got a village contractor mobilising to site next week to start construction on the 300-bed camp. So there's some really good progress there. And in the middle, you can see the work that's going on with the access road. It's a 19-kilometre access road. That's at about 50% completion at this stage. Along with that, there's also water bores. We've got the bore field in. The reticulation pipe work that needs to carry that 25 kilometres into the process plant area is being tendered out at the moment, so we're expecting to start that very soon. And we've had a drill rig up on site for the past couple of months, drilling out a quarry the quarry is going to be used, or the rock from the quarry is going to be used for aggregate for concrete construction going forward. So lots happening up on site. We've got a great in-house team. These are all these works are performed in-house. We're managing them in-house, and I'm happy to say that it's all running to schedule at this stage, so all looking very good. And it's going to, as I say, the impetus behind it is really to get the access road in, the airstrip in and the camp operational by the end of the year, ready in time for the EPCM contract to mobilise to site. The Anjabana site itself, with the EPCM, as I mentioned, we're due to start construction at the end of the year. Detailed design with our engineer is at 18%. We've been very active in the procurement of long lead items. There's a couple of reasons for that, aside from the fact that we're trying to maintain schedule, but it's the procurement of the vendor data which is important to us. And also, while we've had the money, we've made the decision to go ahead and purchase some of these things. We can't fix the entire capital cost of some of these long lead items and some of these bits of mechanical equipment, but we can certainly fix a portion of it by securing those contracts, and we've gone and done that. So we've gone out and purchased the SAG mill, the crusher, flotation cells and regrind mills. Onslow, just a small update on Onslow. You can see the green box outlined on the map. That's the ANZIA, the Ashburton North Strategic Industrial Area, where we're going to be housed. The taking order for that piece of land, the land inside that was leasehold, and there's a conversion process for the government to convert it into freehold and then offer it to us as a lease. So that, I'm happy to say, I think we're very close to signing that document. I think it's going to be within the next week or so. So the hydromet plant will be located in the ANZIA facility. There's a gas pipeline running directly out the front. There's a power station within 1 kilometre of the site, and we've also got a lease that we've secured from the Water Authority to drill some bores down into the Burderong aquifer to secure water for the process plant as well. The early works for that piece of work will be starting fairly shortly. So and that includes is around the water bore drilling. So there's quite a bit of drilling to do and headworks, and then a desalination plant that needs to sit on top of that, or an RO plant to allow them to produce clean water for construction going forward. Excuse me, in readiness for the EPCM contract to start more likely in January next year. Onslow Hydromet, DRA Global, our engineer, they're at 17% completion in the detailed design there. Again, we've been fairly aggressive on our procurement of long lead items. So the kiln and the off-gas scrubber have been purchased, again for vendor data, and also to secure a portion of those costs and try and reduce the impacts of the cost pressures that we've been seeing recently. And the EPCM is due to start quarter 1 2023. Okay, so really to sum up the Anjabana project, we're exceeding all metrics. We're, as I said, we're not shovel ready anymore, we're actually digging. We've got a capital cost which sits well within the capital cost curve for a project of this size and type. We've got a world-class NdPr to TREO ratio. In fact, I can't think of one that's better. And because of that NdPr ratio, we've got one of the highest value cons that are going around at the moment. 90% of the value of our basket comes from those two metals alone. It's really significant. All right, thanks very much for your time. Tim, I'm going to hand back to you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Nick.